Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. In the bottom right hand corner you have RUSethN. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I should probably just say Russ, aka Ed, and Eddie from the joe.to forums. Special huge shout out to that community. I've been part of that community for for a really long time. 7 years, 8 years? Long period of time. Actually, Joe is most famous for making the chicken mod in Counter-Strike. That's a kickback if people remember that. Actually, I think my favorite was the monster mod where you could spawn snarks and other little Half-Life objects on people that were camping, which is hilarious when they had an AWP because you could lock it where all they could use is an AWP and then you spawn on these little insects on them, so someone else would be on the map and you just hear this AWP fire left and right. It was hilarious. Wow, kickback, and I'm sure half of you haven't even, more than half probably haven't even played Counter-Strike. Anyway, this is Jimmy, upper left-hand corner, starting as the purple Terran. As I've said many times before, he is an absolute harassment artist. Really, really strong with his aggressive play. Unfortunately, this is Tal Darim Altar, a very large map. It is very difficult to pull those shenanigans on. Ed and Eddie thus far is just chrono boosting out his probes, has actually almost indicating, well, never mind, a little bit early to be calling anything. Natural expansion is somewhat exposed because you do have a rather large ramp, and as a result, Reapers hopping up that area, Hellions, looks like we had a pause there, Hellions running in and diving out can be very aggressive and destructive. Also, you have this third base under destructible rocks, which looks like it's somewhat close, but also keep in mind that because you have so much exposed back end area, it can be very difficult to really seize and hold this area as a protoss player if your Terran opponent is getting aggressive. But the same thing can work on the opposite end if you get a large stalker count, somehow manage to get an advantage up on the high ground, and if you can keep that marauder count low. But more often what happens is you'll see Terran get aggressive early, like ThisisJimmy, and I assume he's going to. He has opened up, by the way, with a barracks refinery and orbital command first, although a little bit quicker than usual. Looks like he's not at the usual 15 supply here. We usually see that orbital command, and he is adding on a tech lab. And again, I think we're going to see Reapers here, especially because it looks like, yeah, he skipped a Marine altogether, and that's the difference in the supply here. So skipping a Marine, which actually is extremely intelligent, because with that Reaper, one, he'll be able to deny the scout very rapidly, and on top of that, he'll be able to go up and harass very rapidly. And I like what we're seeing Ed do here and take that assimilator. Deny additional gas. Oh, nice micro on ThisisJimmy, actually pinning in that probe, doing some additional damage. That probe is not going to escape, and he's already revealed that build, so he doesn't mind that probe sticking in there just to die. In the meantime, it looks like Ed is grabbing a cybernetics core. He's warping out a zealot, which is not going to be terribly helpful for him early against that Reaper. In fact, I think seeing that first Marine skipped, he maybe should have opened up instead with just flat stalker, especially considering the distances on this map. But in the meantime, he does have a zealot out. That zealot going to try to chase down that SCV, but that SCV looking critically safe, and I mean critically safe. It's like critical success, but with safeness. Going to be chased out, but in the meantime, ThisisJimmy's seen everything he really wanted to. Now the question is his dedication on that assimilator. Keep in mind, and oh, nice. He's actually going straight into a fast expansion with that Reaper to harass on the front. It is already moving out. Is instead going to a fast expansion, has a bunker to play it safe along his front door, a single Marine to block out any additional information. It's not going to be able to stop the information that, in fact, he is, in fact, building a bunker. And in the meantime, it looks like Eddie, who is playing very risky, is going to plant down a Nexus that is natural expansion. This could sacrifice... Ooh, he is lucky that ThisisJimmy is expanding, because this was a very in-the-dark, risky, ballsy move. Because he has this assimilator here. All he knows is that, okay, I've denied some gas. He doesn't know whether there were a bunch of Marines being produced. In the meantime, maybe he knows that the... he doesn't even know that the marauder count was limited. I mean, yes, that is a tech lab, and he knows the concussive shells were going to come out a little bit later, but at the same time, a very ballsy, quick economic take, and is just going to try to rely on the distance on this map to assume that ThisisJimmy was in fact not going to go for more of a all-in attack here at this stage, or some sort of quick aggressive timing. He was successful in that prediction, but again, very, very risky and very gutsy, I gotta say, in that fast expansion build. It looks like that Reaper is still going to sneak up, is going to get plenty of information here. It's going to see this fast expansion. Isn't going to be able to do a lot about it, though, with that Stalker on the front door. So in the meantime, looks like that natural expansion is up. Orbital command about 3/4 finished. That gas still not in a position where it can be taken. Another pause right there. Perhaps some lag. Several Marines being produced. Stim pack also being upgraded. Now we're seeing that, what I would call a typical transition. This is kind of the critical time now. Probe moving up to scout. Looks like it is going to get hunted down. Denied information. Maybe by this Reaper at close position. Little bit of health left. Will the Reaper catch up? If it hops to the high ground, actually, never mind. Marine's going to come up. That's kind of the advantage of having that Reaper on the ground. But what that is going to do with that probe is chasing away. He's actually preventing ThisisJimmy from being amidst this probe line while the Stalker is sitting kind of. Because keep in mind, if there are 2 Reapers here, this would be a lot of territory for that single Stalker to try to defend. And just now, 3 more Stalkers warping in. So that's going to be the end of any harassment opportunity. 2 additional Stalkers in the low ground just to protect, just in case the Reaper's trying to sneak around. And there's a Robo. So 3-gate Robo kind of transition here in the mid-game. In the meantime, ThisisJimmy has got that additional bunker up on the front just because he's playing a little bit, is supply capping himself, which hurts. Especially at this stage of the game, it's getting that reactor up to get some additional medevacs, is now taking additional gas as well. So you're going to go into that medevac, probably more Marauder heavy with Marine-supported infantry. Very mobile, and again can really deny this 3rd base. But economically, currently you're seeing Ed just completely pump probes, so he's actually economically ahead off 2 bases where he just produced 0 troops. All chrono boost essentially going into these next side. Looks like he's saving a little bit, well, either saving a little bit or miss-macroing here, or miss-microing? Microing? Would you call it microing at that stage? And ThisisJimmy just getting some preventative turrets here in the corner. He's playing very safe himself at this distance without any additional information. Another probe trying to sneak out. It is going to be able to deny control on that Xel'Naga watchtower, but very quickly Reaper going to hop off, kill it. So ThisisJimmy relying on information, well, killer, just stopping information. Fortunately for him, in the meantime, falling economically behind. Stalkers are going to get spotted by that SCV. It is going to deny that SCV from scouting that 3rd base, though. So right now, ThisisJimmy not quite sure whether that 3rd base is being taken. All he knows is that Ed has 0 information on what he's up to. Floating that factory out. I think he's going to load up pretty quickly here with these medevacs, maybe even charge forward. He's going to open up that destructible rock, and I assume just swing around and get aggressive and try to play a contained game from this stage on. So what it's going to come down to is, when actually this is where that economy is really going to help. Still no forges out in the field, just some additional gateways, and this is where the level 1 weapons, again with that heavy infantry, can really would really pay off here for ThisisJimmy. Yeah, so also going to move in for some medevac drops. 3rd base still not yet taken. Again, very vulnerable here. Look, no defenses, so a drop could execute, could get a handful of probes and perhaps escape. Factory's going to swing around, try to get a good look at that northern, and it's free to take hits. Observer also moving out in the field, and I don't think that Observer spotted that medevac, but it is on a collision path currently right into Ed's troop base. Unloading in the low ground, ThisisJimmy realizes the risk on the Xel'Naga watchtower, actually sees the troops, does not see the troops incoming, and loses that medevac. Ouch, for absolutely nothing. Didn't even get troop hits on the ground. In the meantime, a handful of Vikings out. Not able to get that Observer. That Observer is going to be able to sit here on this corner. It doesn't look like there's any scan to quite take it out. That Observer is going to be able to escape with its life. Concussive Shell Combat Shield now being upgraded. A little bit late for ThisisJimmy. You usually see that Combat Shield upgrade much earlier in this build. Also getting a Ghost Academy to rely on those EMPs. And here's that factory going to sneak in and get a spot here. And it's going to find that, wow, see that Nexus going up at the perfect time. And that should spawn a reaction from him. It looks like at this stage he's still wanting to get the drops off rather than taking his additional base. Expected him to take this expansion as soon as he cleared that destructible rocks, especially because he's not moving a lot of these troops out in forward field. But instead it looks like he's going to go out with these kind of small drops while he's sticking kind of in a defensive posture. Twilight Council has been upgraded. It looks like some dual forge action as well for Ed. I'm just going to call him Ed even though his name is Russ here because that's how I know him in the, again, the joe.to forums. Shout out to them. Just now taking that base. He's going to be economically behind overall. He's still down 7 harvesters, and on top of that, with the saturation, you're going to see that count greatly increase as soon as this forge finishes. But we do see we lost track of it there. The medevac out in open field. Gonna see what it can do, see what damage it can wreak, and I love this blockade by Eddie. He's going for a very heavy infantry mid-game. Zealot leg charge is probably going to follow that up with Blink, level 1 weapons, level 1 armor. And that's really going to nullify the ability of these small troops to run in and do some damage. So yes, maybe they'll be able to attack a pylon, maybe pseudo-damage a gateway, but it buys time for that army to swing around. So just by having this large barrier and the fact that ThisisJimmy is not dedicating a lot of troops, and this is the thing, if he had a lot of troops back here where he could stim and dance, it would be detrimental actually for Eddie to have to funnel his troops back and forth. even with leg charge, with a lot of marauders here, with Stimpack, Stimpack and concussive shells, it would be brutal for Starkers moving in and out. But unfortunately, because this is Jimmy going for more of those kind of pithy drops and not staging position there, this attack not paying off for him, and he's just now got that orbital command center by, and he's significantly behind in supply. But I've seen him in this position time and time again, where he's behind in kind of a macro game, but somehow just through straight micromanagement determination, he pulls through in the latter game. Level 1 weapons, level 1 armor, just finishing now for Ed. Robotics facility has been almost entirely silent, though. Keep in mind, there's the blink upgrade. He's just basically stuck to charge. Looks like he's going to mix in some Dark Templar as well with that Dark Shrine. Critically missing some High Templar, so he's going to have to really rely on Dark Templar to get a lot accomplished for him. And this is Jimmy really shelling up. It looks like he just wants to play to the 200 match, get EMPs out to deal with the Dark Templar, get EMPs out to just rock that army in any composition. Right now, upon seeing 0 Colossi, I would expect him to move up with those Vikings, perhaps. At least get some use scouting or otherwise. He's okay with his medevac count. Getting another Reaper, it looks like, actually still is that first Reaper out in the field. It's still just been sitting here. It has 3 probe kills, I assume. Dark Templar sneaking out in the field, going to try to scout and spread out as much as possible. Just try to get a lay of the land before they go in for any sort of dive attack. This is a very well defended position, but the bunker is empty, and this is not a planetary fortress. So okay, group prepare there, so it's not going to get a lot accomplished. And it looks like it is going to get taken out before it can sneak up and either take out that turret or do anything else. But this Dark Templar is going to be key, going to be able to deny that 4th base for quite some time. Another Dark Templar sneaking out, it's not going to get anything accomplished with that bunker and that turret in the meantime. But there's another, looks like there's another Dark Templar that I missed. Got a death somewhere in there. Is it that Zealot? Trying to find the Marauder that might have killed it in there. No success. In the meantime, Ed going to expand to the 3 o'clock location. He has a significant supply lead. He has a very large, very highly upgraded army. It's about to finish level 2 weapons, level 2 armor. I think that is going to give him at least equal upgrades, if not the upgrade advantage. Yeah, equal upgrades currently. If he can get some Dark Templar or maybe even a Templar Archives to get some High Templar to storm that army, that plus Leg Charge plus Blink, shove ThisisJimmy basically in the situation you typically see Protoss in. And the X factor, of course, is going to be these ghosts and the EMPs that they are capable of landing, because when you're in this sort of composition with Protoss, you end up with exactly this, a Protoss ball, and 1 or 2 EMPs can trigger a lot of shield loss, at which point your army is significantly detrimented. Another Dark Templar sneaking in. It's going to try to loop around. Is going to be maybe not. Just kidding. It's going to die there. There's some EMPs. Vikings dying. Front door re-engaging. Nice spread by Ed before the engagement. Now Zealots charging forward again. No storm. Some shield to block the Marauders in. The Zealots just heads up, chewing into those Marauders. They have no escape route. And now blinking behind to get the rest of the Zealots in that composition. A lot of Stalkers doing a ton of damage, but it looks like this is Jimmy with just too many Marauders and too many medevacs. Regrouping with the reinforcements, though, the Zealots trying to pin in. Now these Marauders, between all the Stimpack, should be somewhat low on health, but they are going to stim their way straight back. And yes, ThisisJimmy basically won that engagement as far as flat troop count, but in the meantime, he's not gaining any ground. Eddie, with a huge economy and pretty significant intake, actually a little bit behind ThisisJimmy, even though he has superior harvesters, that's the power of mules for you, should be able to reinforce the middle. In the meantime, he is holding his 3 o'clock base, and he will take the solid economic lead once these probes surface right there. And at this point, Jimmy not attacking, still shelling up, still wants to get to 200, actually has an SCV scouting in that upper right-hand corner, and this is Jimmy sneaking an expansion in the bottom left-hand corner, which he really can't take, actually, with the map control he's holding. Well, he can take if he gets up and poses and gets aggressive, which we might see here in just a second with his units and with his composition. But a lot of medevacs, usually it's quite a distance away, as you can see, from his main, so he really either needs to go up and force Eddie to engage him wholesale, or he just has to pray that Ed does not, in fact, scout it out, which Sneaky Ghost actually wandering up here. Going to get a lot of scouting information, maybe get some EMPs. Otherwise, it's going to take possession of the Zelnaga Watchtower in the meantime. Unfortunately, not going to see this additional expansion that is going up for Ed. Ed now at essentially 3 functioning, soon to be 4 functioning bases. His natural expansion is a little bit light here, and we have a nuke upgrading from ThisisJimmy. He is now actually caught up economically, 200 supply up, and it looks like he wants to get sneaky with the nukes. perhaps just showing on, perhaps showboating here a little bit. Nukes tend not to be very economically effective. They're very difficult to land. Looks like that Dark Templar snuck out temporarily, but it's going to be able to sneak right back in, do some damage on that Nexus, and oh, nuking from the high ground. I'm waiting for it. Is only going to catch a handful of probes, unfortunately, so not going to be the best. And it looks like those probes are going to be able to escape without too much trouble. A lot of the army charging in. A second nuke being launched at the natural expansion, Comsat from the low ground. So 2 beautiful nukes really hurting Ed's economy. There's 1 nuke landing. Here's the second nuke. It's going to catch maybe 1 probe. Yeah, 1 probe. So yes, he delayed harvesting for a bit, but I'm not sure it was really economically worth it. But what that has done is that's forced Ed's army back to that upper right-hand quadrant. And in the meantime, it looks like this is Jimmy charging forward. He has 2 more nukes in production. Wow. And now we're seeing a transition to Colossi from Ed. He's also getting those shield upgrades and finishing off Thermal Lance. So now he can actually transition that army very effectively. 12 o'clock location, that single Dark Templar is going to get annihilated. Poor guy. Saw the entire army right there before he died. Looks like that 9 o'clock base is being scouted by Ed. He's in a solid economic position if he can just hold what he has. He does have a maxed army, but he's going to have to face a lot of nukes. And it looks like, yeah, the Colossi sneaking in. And a very, very strong, mostly Marauder, in fact, I think entirely Marauder-heavy army composition. 39. 39 and 3 Ghosts. No EMP that I'm seeing. A nuke launching somewhere. In the meantime, huge engagement, so I'll have to find it after the fact. Huge engagement. Looks like the Colossi are going to get some nice spread. The Zealots not able to encroach, and those Vikings are just free to hit that Colossi in the meantime. I was hoping that's where the nuke was at. Unfortunately, it is not. Oh, these Marauders just getting stim-packed out. It looks like this engagement not favorable for ThisisJimmy entirely. Lost more troops, and he is getting boxed out, but never mind. Looks like there's just not enough reinforcements for Ed to finish the deal. He didn't have a forward pylon. I'm trying to see if the nuke actually hit anything. Nope, not seeing any nuclear damage, so I'm just going to have to assume that nuke did not get it accomplished. Zealots trying to come in reinforced, but those Marauders recharging extremely rapidly on those medevacs. The Zealots are not going to get it accomplished alone against these Marauders. There's just too much open field for them to work with. Yeah, they're just sneaking back and forth. I think this is where that nuke was, in fact. Still with only 1 kill. Let's check the damage on the Nexus. No, Nexus still full health. The Assimilator looking a little bit low, so maybe that was, in fact, a second nuke at that location. Dark Templar going to force the rest up. Looks like he's going to sneak up the 12 o'clock base. There is a planetary fortress with a missile turret, so that Dark Templar is not long for life, unfortunately. Ed looking at a pretty solid economic position, still behind an overall army count. He actually has a few too many harvesters. ThisisJimmy is exactly where he wants to be at. The problem for ThisisJimmy here is his main's mined out. His natural expansion, that's not his natural. His natural expansion is now mined out. He has a 12 o'clock base, his bottom left-hand base. That's a lot of territory to cover. He's still not fully saturated there. Another nuke. Yeah, he's going to try to take out, looks like the Templar, the Dark Shrine, I should say. By the way, additional robotics facilities here in the corner to pump out those Colossi extremely rapidly. Again, only going to take out that Assimilator, not accomplishing a lot else. So the nukes look pretty, but they're not getting a lot done, aside from unpowering that Dark Shrine. In the meantime, though, a large Colossi composition, and I'm not sure that ThisisJimmy's filling in enough Vikings to compensate. Never mind, actually, he's got 4 Vikings out. He still wants... Oh, never mind. I take it back. I lied. He has plenty of Vikings to work with. He's also getting high-sec auto-tracking, is working on the level 3 weapons, also getting level 2 Terran ship weapons. So he's actually in a firm position against that, so I take that entirely back. Ignore me. ThisisJimmy also expanding in this bottom left-hand corner. He still hasn't saturated at this stage, though, and it looks like he's mostly playing goofy here. I'm waiting for an additional nuke at some point. Upper right-hand corner does not have any troop support here, but it might be a trap for ThisisJimmy because his army is going to be isolated in here. He has the Vikings sitting behind to do some spotting. The Colossi do meander in here. They're going to have to eat a lot of Colossus fire. And it looks like this base is going to be taken out, which is a huge, huge amount of damage. There's another nuke someplace. Yeah, it's still going to be at the natural expansion. The nuke just, the ghost just sitting there uncloaked. He's going to kill himself there. I actually want to see him kill himself. Ignore that. Yeah, gets it off, kills the stalker. Well done, Ghost. You've launched like 5 nukes. That's much more than any other Ghost can say in his entire life. Anyway, though, Ed lost this base. ThisisJimmy should take the economic lead if he can at least saturate this bottom left-hand corner. The problem will be getting the SCVs down there. He has... Wow, ThisisJimmy with a huge bank, though, compared to Ed. So Ed in a lot of trouble. But woof, look at the amount of Colossi. And Archons underneath that. Unbelievable. That is a brutal amount of Colossi. Maybe too many Colossi, in fact. So Zealots, Zealots just going to crush those Marauders. If he can take out these Archons and these Stalkers, though, the Colossi are going to just get crushed. So it's going to come down to micro for ThisisJimmy. That's the exact place he wants to be at. So yeah, the Vikings just, unfortunately, the Vikings getting crushed, eaten alive. And now ThisisJimmy lost the entirety of his army. He needs to reproduce it really rapidly. This is going to allow Ed to retake this expansion and really put the pressure on ThisisJimmy. Keep in mind, ThisisJimmy very spread out, losing some medevacs as well. 12 o'clock base, most certainly going to die to this many Colossi with this high level of upgrades. This serves him right for sneaking around with the nuke so much. But yeah, that planetary fort didn't even bother to repair it. I think ThisisJimmy knew that was kind of a lost cause. But in the meantime, Ed, yeah, just crushing this 12 o'clock base. And I don't know that he can even defend his main. Trying to fill back in with some more Vikings. He does have one nuke to his name. He's getting another planetary fortress to this corner. Still, the problem is SCVs. He's down to 55. And let's see if he can, again, get them down there. Upper right-hand corner, Ed taking another base. So even though he has the smaller bank overall, he has a huge supply lead. And I don't know if the infrastructure of ThisisJimmy is really going to allow him to, well, I take it back. Okay, he's got an additional starport, and this is the second time I've done that in this match, is filling it in with a ton of Vikings. So he's going to have to rely on the exact right moment to land those Vikings. Keep in mind, though, he's going against a highly upgraded force. Even though he has level 2 weapons, he does not have any armor. In the bottom left-hand corner, oof, yeah. In the meantime, yeah, ooh, ThisisJimmy going to lose all of his economy, and yeah, that's what I was talking about. Doesn't have position, loses his base, and now he is starved out. This might be GG for ThisisJimmy. He does have a sizable bank, so he's going to have some to roll with, but he's not in the best position here. Moving out with all these Vikings and these Marauders, he needs to crush this army and crush it now. Looks like this bottom left-hand base is... Oh, that poor SCV. He's like, is there a Colossi coming? Yes, yes, there is. Faceplant. Base crushed. ThisisJimmy trying to stage in. It looks like he's going in for a massive counterattack, probably the natural expansion. 2 very exposed robotics facilities, but still... He might want to worry more about this huge Colossi force. But it looks like he's going to try to end the game on what he has here, is actually just completely filling out his bank. He's down to 6 resources, so if he is going to take additional economy, he needs to float out command centers to do so. Stim packing up is going to be able to take out the Dark Shrine, is now working on what he has left. I think I heard another nuke go off someplace. Is it behind him? Oh, frick, I can't even tell where the nuke is. Actually, I'm not sure that I heard that properly. We'll see in just a moment if we see anything disappear on the mini-map, though. I think that's mostly just Vikings shifting around, because I don't... Well, there is one ghost someplace. Oh, well. Anyway, they're charging in. They're going to try to do as much damage as they can as fast as possible. Robo down. But here comes the big action. Colossi, Zealots, Stalkers moving in from behind. The Vikings actually want to wait till that troop count is kind of thinned out. He does want to try to isolate those Colossi, and that's going to be key. Taking out those Colossi one by one. And it looks like the Colossi are just getting picked off. The Vikings pinned in that corner. The Zealots can do considerable damage themselves, and I don't see any medevacs overhead. This is going to be devastating. Trying to pack up, and they're just fodder for those Colossi, just raining down destruction. Yeah, the Marauders completely crushed, and now ThisisJimmy has 0 standing army. 0 army, period. 7 Vikings someplace. I don't even know where. 4 Marines, 17 Marauders, and a single Ghost, with about 100 minerals to his name. Ed, with a considerably larger economy now. And let's see if we see it. Okay, there's Dark Templar up there with 1 kill, so I think he killed a Ghost probably before a nuke... Let's just assume that's what happened. Before a nuke went off, Ghost died, and that's what that was. Actually, that's a great tab to have. Look at all that. Anyway, level 3 weapons going to be finishing for the Vikings, but without that medevac support, these Marauders are going to be really, really, really low on life, because they're going to have to stim just to kite away from this army. There's that first stim, and as a result, they're going to be easy to kill. So, yes, all the Colossi are down, but these are just chewy fodder for these Blink Stalkers and these Zealots. This is exactly what these Zealots love to destroy and eat. ThisisJimmy, running up. Actually, Ed should just turn around and engage this. All these Marauders very low on health. But it looks like he's going to wait for reinforcements, get some more Zealots in the composition before he turns around. More stim packs. These Marauders are so low on health. Blink Stalker's going to finish the job, blinking forward. And Ed, this is the thing, even if he loses these engagements, he can replenish his troop count. You have ThisisJimmy just struggling to maintain 75 minerals. And finally getting some more medevacs, actually going up with a drop to try to slow Ed's economy down. This is his 1 mining base compared to the essential 4 mining, well, sort of 4. The 3 mining bases here of Ed, which are pretty well saturated. I think he's back up to, yeah, 64 harvesters, doing quite well in that regard. He can just refill with more Colossi. It looks like he's getting a high Templar Archives, also getting that Dark Shrine back out, is warping in with a lot of Zealots. He can actually just crush right into ThisisJimmy's front door, and there's not a lot that ThisisJimmy could do about it. Attack about to be executed in that upper right-hand corner. Might be able to take out that Templar Archives as well. Actually switching direction. Going to go for this natural here. Well, I guess you could call this, well, yeah, the natural of this upper right-hand corner base. Unfortunately, it looks like that army was right there to engage. Just a little bit of luck on Ed's part, perhaps. But going to stim pack forward, or sorry, blink forward. Is he going to be able to pick off the medevac? Not quite. About half health. It is going to be able to get to low ground, but it's going to have to engage a cannon as it's flying across. 29 health, 10 health. It is, never mind, it is safe. But still, some Blink Stalker is going to join this fray. Maybe from Ed, looks like they're just kind of standing to the to the side at the moment. Okay, now engaging. Yeah, and the rest of the Marauders going to be cleaned up with a probe fight. Probe fight. Probe's very quickly, easily going to be able to take that Marauder out now that it's engaging that Stalker. They're hardy when they have that army distracting. ThisisJimmy, 91 supply, 90 supply compared to Ed's 173. It looks like Ed is going to be able to take this match from ThisisJimmy, even though ThisisJimmy was kind of throwing out some shenanigans here and there. SCVs gathering up. Actually, we're probably going to have to distance mine in a minute here. A lot of Archons in this composition as well. So even though this is, never mind, it's an orbital command, not even a planetary fortress. So I think, no, it didn't float from the main. Engaging, they are pinned in the corner. Only a handful of medevacs to engage from above. But these are highly upgraded Zealots. Looks like a defensive shield to try to do a little bit of separation. SCVs, linebackers coming off the line. The Archons chewing through them very rapidly, though. And the Zealots just doing so much close, in-your-face damage across that spread that they're just, wow, raking it over. Archons now with level 3 weapons, crushing this Marauder force. This is going to be it for ThisisJimmy. He has no choice but to GG at this stage. There's GG. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, special shout out to joe.to. Really fun game. Nukes and craziness all together. Thank you for listening.